so-called flying saucers.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. It's rotating.
It's just World War III, dude. No big deal. Jesus. We talk about her reacting. Hey, honestly, Merry Christmas to everybody. We're coming to kill the stigma. Now, let's just process Jack Valet weaponized. I think we need to talk about that. There was a lot of interesting things said that kind of blew my mind about the control center. I told you it's just World War III. I apologize.
Oh, you had great freedom to follow the evidence where it led, but you're not allowed to share that information. Is there a model that you would recommend for how to move forward and finally get some solid answers?
Yes. At the same time, we have cases that are documented. But when I said, even with my colleagues at SAW, when I said, I want the title of my talk should be 1966 Haynesville. That's the title of my call. It's not, the sensational thing that was in the Coleman Report. It's not. It's 1966. And I said, people will say, who cares about 1966? Well, okay. What about the wood that I have that I, was last year? It was tested, at an atomic lab in France. Okay. And we know there is new information in the wood from that tree. Okay.
Maxie, please stop. Maxie, go, 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 go. So, why is Jack Valet making a book about 1966? You know how annoyed he probably is and frustrated when they ask him about the congressional hearings, is this going to bring disclosure? Why do you think he brings 1966 up? Yes, it's a great case. No. There's a lot more context behind it. We're talking about the CIA involved, the Condon report involved. We're talking about the Air Force cover-up stuff. And we're talking about the same things that are happening once again. UAP Task Force looks for answers. Then Arrow comes in. He did that for a reason. 1966 is there for a reason. Carl Sagan, J. Allen Hynek, he speaks. Finally, he hits rock bottom with swamp gas. Then he goes into hearings. We need scientific evidence. The scientific evidence was there for an anomalous, but it still got shut down. So Jack Valet is frustrated. No, this is not how we're going to get disclosure. We got to go back to studying the cases. We have to go back. Forget about the government. It's not going to happen that way. The government went as far as they could. That's it. Another big point, really strong point he talks about is trust. And really think about that. Trust. He talks about some people he trusts that were in, like, let's say MJ style, classified government skiff that he trusts, okay? But his point about trust was, where are we at trust with the UFO community? Think about that. Where are we at trust with the UFO community? We're all paranoid. We're all, and look, for good reason. What I'm saying is, he mentions trust. You cannot disclose without there being a trust. And we do not have that right now. And you guys know that's true. But then he talks also about communication, which is fascinating. And the controllers. He says the UFOs from Trinity, which is a great book, Trinity, the best kept secret, amazing book. And honestly, all of Ballet's books, I think you should read, especially the Forbidden Science one, his journals. But trust. Where are we at trust? Where? I think we got some. Hey, hold on. 1-800 UFO therapy. Hold on. Is this the UFO therapy hotline?
He escaped, and he went on to be, a prominent advisor to de Gaulle and prominent publisher in Paris. That's a real experience. He said that was a control system, but it could be open or closed depending on the conditions. He said, I think UFOs may be the same thing. They may be open to some people under certain conditions that they control. They certainly have spoken to people who were confronted with entities that were open to discussion. There are cases that I know where this happened in government facilities, but nobody's talking about that. So I suspect that that's true based on the people I've met, but they were not the people who were running the program, so I cannot be completely sure. But what they described to me is a very sophisticated process by which we may be able to interact with the entities. Those are not the entities that are described at Trinity in my book with Paola Harris. They are not the entities that were caught in Brazil that are in that documentary. They may be the controllers, they may be the higher level entity. If what I'm told is true, the communication with them is very sophisticated and it's complex. So there may be a group that I would respect that has access to that. And this was from years ago, by the way. I mean, that report of that particular interaction was more than 20 years in a lab somewhere in controlled conditions. If that's true, then there is a process ongoing where we may be able to acquire information at a very sophisticated level, and that would be, that could be a reason for stalling, quote, disclosure until there can be a rational way that we're not confronted with something so overpowering that it would destroy our culture and our society. I mean, we have enough to deal with AI these days. which is, a foreign entity potentially.
But so you're saying you've been made aware that there is a government project, maybe it was 20 years ago, that was able to establish direct communication with a non-human intelligence, and that you believe this information to be true, and that this is a reality. This is what you understand to be true. Is that correct?
I cannot tell. Yes. It's factual. What I cannot tell is whether that the entity that was presented was a simulation of a real entity, or whether it was the real entity. Okay, the people I spoke to couldn't probe it to see if it was made of flesh or in metal or something else. Okay, but it was presented to them in a secure facility that I've never heard of anywhere else, where there was structured interaction with it on a continuing basis by specialists from different areas. The person I spoke to was an extreme, specialist in a particular discipline, and not a casual observer.
And so that could be kind of one of the reasons we have to be careful, or there's a slow rollout of disclosure, because you're saying we might already have communication with some
forms of communication or ways to engineer communication at a sophisticated level. I don't think the entities from Trinity, were obviously scared. They were not the controllers of the craft.
So what he's saying is that those entities from Alexa, shut up. So what he's saying is those entities in Trinity that were scared in Virginia, those are not they're not the controllers. They're just here. We don't really know why they ended up here, but they had a situation. But that's not who's in control. He's all about the simulation hypothesis and who's the controllers. And according to Jack Vallée, he trusts some people that came to the decision of secrecy, that this is too much, and that this is like this is like affecting the trajectory of where we go. It goes really deep, and I'm not gonna get deep down in the weeds because I'm not even sure what's happening. But the cool thing is Jack Vallée is desperate to get his knowledge out. He knows he's got little time left. Thank God he's got a protege of Gary Nolan. Now Gary Nolan, CIA, blah, blah, blah. Nolan just did a really good presentation on the control system, and it's fascinating. And I was going to put it on this episode, but like it's just too much. It's too much. So I'll do another one on that. But you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of AI. And remember that Jesse Michaels episode?
Basically has, virtually matrixed us.
Yes. I think the brain itself is probably, maybe a room temperature quantum system.
It was communication with some NHI. It was like, what's going on? Like, why are you here? Or something. It was like, CIA wizards are messing with the timeline.
He became convinced that there was kind of this secret branch of physics.
I don't know how conspiratorial it is if you just look at all of human history. We have classified entire areas of fundamental physics before.
Yes.
Don't think we can do the same for AI. What is the nature of the interaction between human society, human institutions, and non-human intelligence? And they said it's a triangle: AI, quantum, and the Grush stuff. Well, what the hell is actually happening?